we're just going right into it.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we're back after a couple of weeks. Well, more than that, I guess, because it's been a couple weeks since we got home from tour. And we didn't record any episodes on the tour like we said we were going to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Too busy just, rocking out in Europe and Russia.
Yeah.
Missing flights and riding limes.
It's a bit of a haze for several reasons that I always kind of refrain from talking about in public.
It is kind of crazy, like, we were on tour for a month. We were gone for a month. And it does when you're in it, you're just in it. You don't really think about it being gone, or at least I don't. I don't know about you.
Yeah, it reminds me of jail.
Okay.
You're in it. That's your life. And the world is going on outside of you type shit. And there's really nothing you can call or do a little text or, whatever it is. But you're better off just focusing on your new life rather than trying to fucking cry about what the hell's going on around outside,
It makes it take longer, I think, because we were in Europe, so I know you just pay how crazy was your phone bill for that month?
How wild was the phone bill?
But regardless, I try not to do that. So the first couple weeks of the tour, I was going only Wi-Fi. I was only using my phone when we were at the venues or at a coffee shop or something. But then I noticed once I said fuck it and was paying the $10 a day to use my Wi-Fi and use my cell service and shit, it felt like it made the tour take longer. Because I was thinking about home and talking to people back home instead of just being
plugged in. Yeah, being present. I think it's like that with anything.
Yeah. I
would imagine, not that I have much experience with it, but military.
Sure.
Same way. It's just, you're better off if you just open up to your new life. For the most part. You can always, sit down at night and write a letter or a text message or whatever it might be, but I don't know. Don't try to keep your life going while you're gone. Like,
it's hard.
To me, it's pointless. I've never tried and I've never regretted it.
I can't imagine people that have kids and shit and are touring.
Yeah, that doesn't seem like a good idea.
It's got to be tough. But
yeah, it seems like I would just try to take mine if I had them.
Bring your kids on a tour.
If I was going to be that important, But luckily, everyone's avoided that.
We have talked in the past, not on the podcast, but about how being on tour is almost like a weird Groundhog Day scenario where you kind of just do the exact same thing every day. It's never any different.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
I always, as you know, I try to spend as much time away from the tour as possible.
Yeah.
Which I usually do a pretty good job of it.
Most people, to attest to you doing a good job, because I kind of talk to people more on the tour because I'm just around more people, by nature of doing the merch. So they're like, yeah, I think I've talked to David once, or people, I have never met him, and we're like 3 weeks into the tour.
Yeah. I don't have any interest in the tour, really. I'm not a team player. I suck.
I think it was Landon, I was telling him, like, yeah, David usually just leaves right when we get to the venue. And he's like, oh, he likes, sightseeing? I was like, no, he just hates being on tour. Which he hates being on tour just as much as we do. So
okay.
Cool.
Yeah, I think we were talking about getting him in here, right?
Yeah, I saw him the other day. He said he's still down, so we'll try to get him in here at some point.
That would be something
everyone's interested in.
Yeah, it's not that I don't like the tour, but I try to make it a point to have one conversation with one person in each band.
Yeah.
Not every person. But
It's just like a representative.
one representative gets a combo,
And maybe more if.
yeah, there are a few people that I resonated with, but it's not really about disliking the tour. It's about liking the rest of the shit, I guess. Wanting to, well, on the foundation, it's about keeping the same routine I have at home.
Right.
Of waking up, writing, reading, going to the gym. Those 3 necessities take anywhere from 4 to 6 hours. So I'm not going to kick around with people and waste time when I got to get those checked off the list before doing something corny like sightseeing, which I don't really do that much of. So it's not about trying to be away. It's just, well, there's nothing there either. It's a building, and you have the same guys that you're in the bus with, living with, or whatever.
Right.
I don't feel like I miss anything. When I leave, everyone's sitting there staring at their phones, and when I get back 7 hours later at night, then they're still sitting there staring at their phones. And I just don't really like that.
It makes you wonder what a tour would have been like back in the day. Before
people could stare at their phones.
Yeah. Boring, or more boring, less boring.
Maybe more fun. Maybe I'm disillusioned because all the tapes that I used to watch are 9 Inch Nails Closer and Closer, the VHS, Manson's Dead to the World, or Pantera's touring tapes. So for some reason, I still try to act like that's what's going on, which is maybe why everyone hates us.
You're living in the past.
I'm living in Motley Crue, The Dirt.
Right.
The Dirt's the real version, like the book, not the fake Netflix movie.
Maybe one day they'll make a movie about us.
Get Neil Strauss. Someone needs to find Neil Strauss and get him to write about us, because I've read all his books, and he can at least owe me that.
What was, did you have a favorite place that we went on the tour? Because a lot of those places I'd never been before.
Russia, yeah. It was head and shoulders for me.
Russia was pretty cool.
I just felt the spirit, I guess.
It felt weird. Not a bad way, just you could feel it was different, I thought.
Yeah.
Like that old world kind of Eastern, just different. It's kind of similar, but...
Yeah, I interacted with a handful of people there, just doing regular daily living stuff, and they just I seemed to resonate with them. They're kind of gloomy. They don't have the same humor. They don't have much humor, but it's kind of gloomy, so I could see eye to eye with that. They're kind of dark.
Yeah.
I guess,
it's probably,
lack of a better word.
I mean, it's similar, right? Because when we walked out, when we got off the plane and we got there, and I checked the temperature, and it was the same temperature there as it was here in Michigan. And I was like, okay, so it's kind of the same vibe. Because I do think about that, like Michiganders or people from the north, like you just get a certain toughness or hardness just from living in the cold.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, for sure you do.
And it's something that I feel like maybe is similar between us and them. That cold weather just fucking kind of puts I don't even know how to describe it, just a layer or like something.
Yeah, I think it has something to do with it for sure. I think we've talked about it before, but I like getting the 4 seasons.
Yeah.
Throughout the year.
I mean, there are some days in the winter when I'm like, man, fuck this. Why don't I just live somewhere that's always nice? But it does make you appreciate the nice stuff when you have to go through the shitty winter months.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like tour makes me appreciate being home when you have to go on tour and eat shitty European food and live on a bus for a month. And then you come home and kind of do what you want. It makes you appreciate it a little bit more, I think.
Yeah.
But
I think Europeans probably think the same about over here. Like, come and eat our food, and then they're just can't wait. I remember, what the fuck was it? Dave said, I can't wait to get home and have a proper English breakfast. And I'm like, fuck.
A slice of half a tomato and beans and streaky bacon
With
and
fake
just
eggs.
bullshit.
Like, yeah, you can't wait for that, huh? Yeah. You're the only one here that can't wait.
Him and the other English bands on the tour.
Right.
Probably.
It was alright. Didn't really line up to get a podcast in.
We tried on the day off, but I forget what I even did on the day off. Oh, I sat in the bus and I watched a movie, and then I went to the movie theater and watched a movie.
What bus movie?
Brick.
Okay.
The Ryan Johnson noir movie. And then me and it was a serious international crew. And Japanese, Australian, English, American crew going to see a movie in Austria in English.
With a different title.
Le Mans. Somebody get their Le Mans in there. That was a cool movie, though. I liked it. But, yeah, so we're home, and we're back casting.
Yeah, we're casting. I always rely on you to kind of find things to talk about on each one.
I'm, as you say, the host of the Gunncast, but you're the star. One thing I don't think we've talked about. I remember we talked about it when we were in New Orleans. But the release schedule and fan expectancy between metal fans or rock fans and hip-hop fans. And how it's this weird kind of maybe reflection of time, like generational differences, where if a rapper doesn't put out a project every 3 months or every 6 months or every year, they're not relevant.
Yeah.
But Slipknot, I mean, they're the biggest band like that. But they wait 5 years between albums, and then their albums do fine. But
Or Tool.
Or Tool, 11 years, right? But people like Uzi, my favorite, he hasn't put out an album in 2 years, and people are just fiending for it.
Yeah.
He put out that single, and it immediately was the number one song in the world, I think I saw, on iTunes or something. But still, it's kind of weird, right?
Yeah. I'm not sure if it's... I wonder if it comes down to the consolidated individual, the idea that, the way that I always see it anyway, having both kinds of projects is one is relatively painless from a logistical standpoint.
Right.
So it's me and Kat. Me and Kat sit in our shitty room.
This very same room that this podcast is being recorded.
Right. With shitty ass gear doing things, and it's not a logistical nightmare. No one had to buy a $1,000 guitar and a $1,000 drum set, and we've talked about that before.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the band thing, I'm just making this up as I go, by the way. It is what I think, but I'm making this up in the sense where if we have a 4-person band, and that's 4 spirits to get aligned,
4 times
it's going to take 4 times as long. So instead
right.
of dropping every 6 months, it's every 2 years, and that's why that album, it probably has nothing to do with that. It's probably a Pareto kind of distribution, like just a natural cycle based on the old days that is still stuck.
How rock's kind of just in that old.
It's a bit archaic with some of its practices. That's probably what it is. But if you want to not reverse engineer it, and you want to just kind of confirmation bias it, it's not very strange to think about the mathematical equation of coming out with a project every 3 to 6 months, and then having 1/4 or 1/5 of the group by yourself, which is just one consolidated individual being the artist. It's not too much of a stretch of the imagination to understand why groups and then to use, say King every 2 years. Well, Slipknot has 9, so that's twice
Right.
as complicated. So it just landed on what you just said, 6 years or whatever. It's not really probably logical checking out, math, but it's something that kind of popped in my head when you were saying it.
I think there could be a couple reasons. One is a little bit of confirmation bias, and the other is a little bit of what you already said. But when you do a King song, take your pick. There's literally hundreds of different sounds and instruments and vocal and,
Yeah.
drums, guitar, bass, weird instruments you would never expect.
Yeah.
When you do a Yavid song, there's 2, your vocal and the beat, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of have that dilemma that was why the project was created. So I could just be free and talk about things that were more lighthearted and different perspectives that I had on things. So when I talk about hoes or something, I talk about hoes and King too.
I was gonna say
most of the songs, right? But
it's a different way of talking about it.
Yeah, different, and talking about different ones too. So you don't I don't anyway treat everyone the same, and I have different relationships with different people, but also a lot of different circles, and obviously grew up in a different type of way. So the things I have and the ideas that I can express sometimes aren't deep. Sometimes they're not intellectually stimulating, which is kind of annoying to me because I don't believe that people even understand the first record that we put out right now as we sit here.
Yeah.
So you're talking about, maybe wearing some ideas on your sleeve, or I've heard people say it's, less thought out and stuff, and maybe, but one half you can say less thought out, but I'll just say more natural. What is thought besides a contravation? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not, I don't think, fair to make one assessment or the other. I'm not really lobbying for one or the other. I'm just saying it's kind of the whole point of the project. When we record a shitty music video and we put it out, that's the idea.
Yeah.
The idea is that we didn't spend $48,000, which was what we spent on Fat Around the Heart. We spent nothing for, what is it? What was the last video we did?
Braveheart?
For Yavid.
The Whip It Away?
We bought an apple from the Speedway gas station.
You did almost lose $1,000.
4,000.
Oh,
in the trash. Yeah,
and
okay.
You lost 1,000, but you found it.
Yeah, but as far as production costs, it was a 70-cent apple from Speedway, and that's kind of the point. It's guerrilla style, nimble style, what I think projects should be at their infancy, but not really what projects at their infancy are in rock or metal or whatever it may be. The kid always has to buy the $1,000 guitar or the $300 guitar or $200 or $100 guitar or whatever it is, and you always have to have an amp to plug it into, unless you get an acoustic. But that's a different thing. We're not really talking about that because we're in a band. So, and then you got to meet 3 other people that play bass guitar and drums. They also have to have those instruments. And when you're poor, it's just it's a molehill. That's actually a mountain. Like I talk about in the book, we used to run into stores and steal flat out. Wholesale. I would run out with shit you couldn't even conceal, just because there was absolutely no chance that we were going to get any of this gear that we were going to need. Not even a close.
Allow me to cling and get slightly off topic, but the first King music video, was it Murder, Murder, Murder?
Yeah.
Or was there ever any plans to do anything for, I hate to even say it, something off anachronism?
No.
It was just because...
We kind of stole that record. That was a record where I filled out the mastering form at I think it's West Side, Alan Duchesse or something mastered it. If you want to call it, I don't even think it was recorded well, let alone mastered well. Or not mastered well, but you can't polish a turd.
Yeah.
So I changed the address and we got the masters shipped to our house. Instead of
label.
Yeah, because we didn't really have a label. People say we were on Equal Vision, but there was never a paper. No one ever signed anything. No one ever did anything, which is why, obviously, they don't claim anything. It was kind of just a phone call agreement between San and whatever. And so we got the record, and they were doing what labels... small shitty labels that micromanage their projects do, which is micromanage a bunch of details that don't matter. Like your name can't be King, all these types of things. Here's a lightning bolt fucking logo design for your T-shirts. We got all this shit, and so I just sent him something back saying, you could suck my whole dick, and kind of just put the record out on
YouTube
or BitTorrent or something.
I used to listen to it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Under the YouTube account name of I Leaked Your CD, LOL.
Yeah, so that was us. And we were just trying to do our thing.
And then my other question, how much did it cost to make the Murder, Murder, Murder video? And does what you're saying apply? Because you're saying, guerrilla style, getting your start relatively cheap.
That's what it was. My cousin just got out of prison, and we were stealing everyone's shit, and he must have stole a digital camera from someone, and it was called a bloggy because it was when blogging was cool.
Okay, so you used a blogging camera to film a music video.
Yeah, it wasn't real. It was a $60 camera, and we had it all laid out like a movie, as you can see.
Yeah,
illegally using music and
cinematic video.
Yeah, and then we're gonna show them our lives, our shitty lives. It wasn't a video shoot. It was it reminded me of Snow on the Bluff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not at the time, it wasn't out, but the idea that no one was filming. We were just doing our life.
And the camera happened to be
there. And sometimes people would take turns recording it.
Okay.
But we did have a little narrative, the intro, and then, there's a little narrative.
The ending scene?
Yeah, where I dump a body right into a spot, which is actually where I got shot. And then at the end, my cousin, sticks me up, whatever. And that was a little narrative woven between just our shitty lives of worthless losers.
Some Martin Scorsese vibes.
Exactly. But the point is, that was the overhead of that project, and it seems to be what made the most sense, but for when you're that size, a lot of people that are small want to get X because X is going to get them Y.
Yeah.
And it's, we just had a video budget. We could have a really good music video, then more people will like us. If we just had this, then we would have an agent and book more tours and more people would like us. If we just had a record label, then they would do this and then more people would like us. But it's not true. More people aren't going to like you. If you could pay people to like you, they would. Every label would have stars. If you could pay people to like your music, every booking agent would have a roster full of great touring bands that just do well.
You just need to have good music, or music that's likable, right?
You need. I don't even think that. I think you need to find the people that think your stuff's likable, right? Because you hear some of this shit out here, right?
Yeah.
It's more of a. Sometimes when you're sitting there, and you're like, I can't even see who would listen to this. It's like, well, they found some people. It's just about finding the people that are gonna like what you're making, I think. I don't know if that was what we were talking about.
No, but we were, to go back to what we were talking about, the other thing I was going to say about the release schedules between rock and hip-hop. Do you think in the streaming age that rock music would cannibalize itself if it released at the rate that hip-hop music releases? Because, in general, more people that listen to hip-hop are streaming it, and more people that listen to rock, I'm using that as a blanket term for rock, metal, whatever,
Yeah.
they buy albums still. A lot of rappers don't even put out albums.
Yeah, I think that's just a response to the market, right? If people will buy them, might as well make them.
Yeah.
You know.
But do you think if a rock band were to put out an album every year, that it would be listened to in the way that a hip hop album released every year would be listened to?
Maybe we should try.
Well, King puts something out every year, usually, for the last 4 years, 5 years.
Yeah, which means we have to do something this year, right?
It's the year of the grind.
I hate to say it, but I don't know. It doesn't seem like it would cannibalize itself. I mean, it does a good job cannibalizing itself as it is, but it doesn't seem like it would, right? What?
To me, it feels like if you were to take, and you can't really do this, but a rapper and a band that are on the same level and have them put out the same type of release in the same, 2 releases in the same time period, the hip-hop album would do better, just because of the way that people stream music now.
Yeah. There's just so many, like, do better, you know? A lot of the...
Sales and streams.
Yeah.
Not taking into account the fact that, as we've talked about before, the rock album split at least a few different ways.
Yeah, then you go, well, you also go find merch money, you go find...
True.
Because a lot of these, there's found money and things. A lot of these... rappers are leaving a lot of money on the table in merch. They are starting to get hip to that rock shit.
One thing that's funny about that, remember Finelli that we toured with?
Yeah.
He toured with JID this last year because JID was like, I just got to start selling merch. I'll get paid.
And
Finelli
it worked.
was saying, they were doing serious numbers.
They tend to leave that money on the table. It's just a custom of the market, of the business play, that business, Again, it could be by a byproduct of, well, then I have to hire a merch salesman. I have to have someone print it. It's not just me and the mic anymore. I can't show up with a USB, and it might just be know-how, I think it's definitely a byproduct. I'm unsure. When we came back, I had like 7 different currencies in my wallet, as your song is.
7 different currencies in my wallet.
It was interesting looking, I guess. So I had a video that I posted, and people post like, "Oh, I'm so happy for your success," but I just wanted to be like, this isn't success. This isn't even like, if people are standing there holding money on Instagram, it's not success. It's not anything.
It's flexing on the gram.
Yeah, it's well, I thought all the money was interesting, but
Just to see the
different monies. It's
I like to think about, because it was designed a certain way.
Yeah.
It wasn't just randomly.
No,
Like,
it wasn't an
with
accident of
euros,
nature.
They're different colors for the bills. They get bigger as the numbers get bigger. But America doesn't do that. It's just interesting to
It's a
think
bunch
about.
of whole stuff that I thought was pretty cool, but people are like, "Oh, you're just," or they're like, "Oh, that's what it's about," and it's like, no, not really. Or they're like, "Oh, how much do you guys make on tour?" And I'm just like, "This is my own fucking money. I own 10 businesses. This is not from fucking touring." You know what I mean? You want to say like, you want to say that, I guess, but it's delusional, I guess. It's like when someone stands in front of a nice car and posts a picture and people think that that's real. 9 out of 10 times it's not real. Someone's cousin's car, or it's a rental, or it's some fake ass.
A car in the parking lot.
It's a car in a parking lot that you got an angle at. I'm not saying I do that, but
I do that.
you do.
I did it once when me and Gene went to Chicago and I had to rent that Charger.
Oh.
But I think that when I do it, I'm very tongue-in-cheek about it not being real.
Yeah.
At least I think maybe it doesn't come off like that. But
yeah, personally, I just get that and understand that that's what I was doing, but in no way did it have anything to do with King or music, or it's just my own personal shitty life, I guess. It doesn't have anything to do with I guess I don't really know how to explain what I'm saying. Do you get what I mean, though?
You were not posting it on the gram to get some type of clout.
Yeah.
I just thought it was
I didn't think about it till afterward, of course, but I don't think about it before either. My more responsible friends will text me like, whatever you're doing right now, will you just make a post of it? Because your socials look like shit. And I like this person, so I oblige her, But really, I couldn't give a fuck less.
And you're usually, working out, counting money?
Yeah.
Or reading a book?
I should usually be, because writing, I just turn it off, no one can really reach me. But, working out, I try to do, like, things I'm actually doing on the day-to-day that won't get me into any trouble. But
I was thinking, it's the year of the grind. We had our hands on all these different things. A Yavid workout tape.
A tape?
Tybo
Workout? Oh, God.
Style, motherfucker.
You fucks. What? Tybo.
Set to fucking Yavid and King tracks.
Oh, wow. That's the thing. I just like peace, man. I gotta be peaceful when I'm not on this kick, because I get too aggressive and it's not good for my real life. I gotta, sure, workout tape coming to you.
2020.
Coming to you soon. I just think all that shit's so corny. Everyone tells me I should do it, but it's corny as fuck. I don't think I'm cool or anything. I just think this is what you do on this corny ass app. People seem to think it's cool. I don't know why.
I guess there's not really a way to measure it, but it probably does have a positive on the music, right? As far as more people finding it.
Yeah, I think we talked about it before, but that was the main reason why we even started using those things. When we went, and our last release was independent, and we have independent releases between each label release, and it was to promote the release.
Yeah.
So you want to keep it active and stuff as a promotional tool, but by no means is it my real life. My real life is mainly just a depressed, suicide contemplating individual sitting in a room trying to hold it together. so that's funny.
I mean. We're back, baby. It's the Gunncast. We're back from tour. Bring Me Dairy Queen to all the shows coming up. You heard it, motherfucker. Shows coming soon. How wild was last night and how wild was the last month?